welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. First of all, I would like to announce that I just watched Coming to America 2, and now my new aesthetic is Afro-Goth Goddess, and I made these hair accessories to go with my makeup. I did an ombre look. Let me see if I can zoom in. Have a skeleton here, I have a skeleton hand here. So yeah, there's that. And you guys seen these earrings on my Etsy shop before. I made these. I attempted to wire wrap my hair, but it's not looking like the girls on Pinterest, but I like this cheetah print makeup. It looks awesome. I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you. So, I want to talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, but I wanted to make sure that I did enough research about it to really come at it with as much clarity as I possibly could. And okay, so human trafficking is a huge issue, and it sounds very broad and vague, and I really wanted to try and break it down a little bit because I keep seeing these stories and like shared on social media about all the new ways that human traffickers are trying to get victims and trying to warn women, warn children, even warn men, like, hey, this just happened to me and this is a new human trafficking tactic. It never ceases to amaze me how many tactics they use and all different ways that they can and have manipulated people. So I watched a variety of different YouTube videos on this. If I could like find them all and link them all below, then I will link as much information as I possibly can in the description. So one of the tactics, okay, so first of all I want to say that human trafficking isn't just people walking down the street and getting snatched up and pulled into a white van and gone away to who knows where to have who knows what done to them. It doesn't always look like that, and that's why it's kind of hard to track down, because a lot of times it's a little bit more covert, and it can be people you know, it can be your family, it can be your friends, it could be you going to a job interview, like a legit job interview. They can pose as social workers, modeling agents, parents, caregivers, just a wide variety of things. And you may not always know that you're in danger when you are. You may not be able to pick up on certain tactics and things. So that is the purpose of this video. I may not be able to list all of the tactics in the world in which they use to lure their victims, but I'm going to try and do the best as I can based on my research and based on things that I constantly see people sharing about on social media to be aware of. So one of the first things is whining and dining. And that's kind of go hand in hand with another tactic that I'm going to mention later. So wine and dining, it just sounds like you're dating and you're meeting new people and you are getting treated to fancy meals or taking you shopping. They're getting your hair done, your makeup done, your nails done. They're paying for you to go to an esthetician and get a facial, a bikini wax, and just all the cool things. And they're flying you out to different vacation spots, and you think, wow, this person's really nice, they must really care about me, or they must be really generous with their money, or they're just really friendly, when in actuality that's just manipulation. It's love bombing. Love bombing is a tactic that manipulators and abusers use. When you first meet them, they're really nice, they spoil you, they treat you so well, give you lots of love and affection, they buy you gifts, and you know, they ask about your personal life and your family, and they ask about your career goals and dreams and aspirations, and they seem like they want to know all about you. They care about you, they care about your family, they care about your friends, and they may go as far as getting you comfortable enough to introduce them to your friends, introduce them to your family. That means they know They know where you live. They know where your mama live at. They know you have kids. They know that you're taking care of an elderly grandparent. They know where your auntie lives at. They know where your best friend lives at. And this is very dangerous. Because what ends up happening is at some point in this wine and dining, they start to switch on you. They start to say things like, well, I've given you so much, you have to pay me back now. And next thing you know, you're locked in a room with a stranger that paid them some money, and you now have to work for them. And if you try and say, no, I don't want to do that, that's not really my thing, or whatever, they may be like, well, if you don't do it, then something's going to happen to your kid. If you don't do it, something's going to happen to your mom. If you don't do this, something's going to happen to your best friend. If you don't do this, something's going to happen to somebody that you care about. And I know where they live at. I know where they go to school at. I know where they work at. I know what their car looks like. And I have all these people working for me. And, you know, if you don't act right, all I have to do is make a phone call and, you know, something will happen to the people in your life that you care about. So, you know, like, you really have to be careful who you open up to. Not everybody cares about you. Not everybody is looking out for your best interest. Not everybody wants to help you. Not everybody is a good person. Some people allow you to vent to them because they want you to feel better and they want to be a genuine friend. But a lot of people, they're just looking for something to gossip about. They're just looking for a reason to kind of bring you down a peg. They're looking for things that they can use to manipulate you. So you really have to be careful about what kind of information you share with people and who you get close to and all that. Because this person can pose as somebody that you're dating. They can pose as somebody that you're friends with. They can be a family friend. They can be a social worker or somebody who pretends to be. And you think you're in good hands because they've treated you so well so far. And you couldn't imagine that they would be capable of anything else. And then all this stuff starts happening. And because you've already developed an emotional attachment to them based on how they treated you before, it's harder for you to just leave because you're like it just works your mind a lot. And they tell you lots of lies. And you don't know what's real and what's fake. And you don't know what these people are capable of. So yeah, you need to be careful of that one. Strip club recruits. I'm not saying that strip clubs are breeding grounds for human traffickers. But depending on where you work at and the area that you're in, who is running these clubs and what they allow. Unfortunately, a lot of strip clubs work as brothels. A lot of strip clubs work as sort of breeding grounds for human traffickers. A lot of clubs will tell dancers, don't go home with anybody. Don't tell them your real name. Don't tell them any personal information about you. If you're in college and they ask you what school you go to, lie. Say you go to a school out of state. Don't tell them if you have kids. Don't tell them if you're taking care of an elderly person. Don't tell them what neighborhood you live in, even if you live in the same city. Like, they don't need to know what neighborhood you live in. You know, don't tell them like certain details because they can figure certain things out and find you. These people are master manipulators. They do it all the time. That's their thing. Some people can, you know, present themselves as somebody that is interested in dating you. Some people can offer you lots of money if you agree to meet with them. Some people can offer you money for sex acts. Some people can pretend to be sugar daddies or sugar mamas, or somebody who can introduce you to somebody in that life and act like they got the hookup and they are just looking for your best interest in her and they just care about empowering you so much. And that is not the case. That happens sometimes, but it's really a unicorn and it's really not safe because those people can act as sort of like that wine and dine thing, and then bait and switch, or you don't know these people, don't agree to meet with them, and don't give them your real information. Foster homes, the whole system, DCFS, a lot of those places are breeding grounds for human trafficking, because a lot of foster families, they end up accepting kids with the intention of basically pimping them out. A lot of them don't really care for the kids. A lot of them allow abuse. A lot of them are abusive, and the care is just not really there, and it's a lot. I've never been in the foster home, but I've just heard so many horror stories, and I've lived in a series of different homes, and not everybody who has kids or wants kids or is around kids is really someone that's meant for that life. I'm just gonna say that, okay? I've seen things where people say if somebody puts something on your car, if somebody has like some fabric tied around the windshield wipers or the car door handle, or it look like some jam, and you're in a store or something, then go back in the store and call the police, because that's the distraction. If somebody, even when you see people like having flyers on your car, like, I'm not talking about the little small ones, but like really big ones, like, no, that's gonna take you a minute, and by the time you figure out how to untie whatever or undo whatever thing, it may look like, oh, somebody's just being an asshole. Like, no, they're trying to kidnap you. Please be aware, please be mindful, and practice safety. Fake church meetings. So I've heard about this trend. I don't know if it's still trending now because due to the pandemic, but where ladies will go into malls, they will go into stores like Target or Walmart, and they will approach women, and they may compliment you on your clothes, your bag, your shoes, your nails, whatever, to try and start a conversation naturally, and you think you just make a friend. And they're like, hey, do you believe in God? Are you a spiritual person? Do you like Bible study? And they may invite you, like, hey, want to come to my Bible study? Like, we're trying to recruit people to come to the Bible study. We need new people. Are you interested in that? And if you're somebody who is religious and you just hear Bible study, you just think, oh, okay, that sounds cool. And then you go to these places, they're not churches. And if they are, they're abandoned, or they're fake churches. These meetings are in abandoned buildings. These meetings are in closed office spaces that are not easily accessible. People have reported going to these areas and their phone has died, or they don't have cell service, or they don't have internet, or something weird like that. And basically the game is they recruit these women to come to these Bible studies, and then once they're there, they get kidnapped and taken into sex trafficking, or they'll treat it like a cult. Like, at first you think it's just a normal church meeting, church gathering, whatever, and then there's a trip, and some people never come back from those trips. And it's just like they just work your mind. It's a mess. So be mindful of anybody that you don't know who starts up a conversation with you in a grocery store and they just invite you to a Bible study. Like, I don't know. Snatch and run. I've seen horror stories recently within the last year where strangers will just snatch your kid right out of your arm and run full speed out of the store before you even have time to think, before you have time to grasp or process what is even going on. They're already like 5 miles down the street. I'm not even exaggerating. I'm not even kidding. These people are like, they run like professional track runner people, and they're not Like you're not even thinking about it. So if you're the type of person that as soon as you go to a store, you let your kids kind of run around the store, you're like, you like to walk and like your kid is a few feet behind you, don't do that. Just be mindful, be careful, be safe, keep an eye on your kids, keep your hands physically on your kids. I'm trying to tell you, they're snatching kids and just straight up running, taking off full speed before you even know what hit you, what's going on, how to process things. Like, your kid is gone. So yeah, keep an eye on your kids, keep your hands physically on your kids. If you need to, get one of those kid harnesses. I know people are really judgmental about kids having harnesses, but they're absolutely necessary, especially in cases like this. If it will help keep your kids safe, then like, go ahead and use them. Yeah. Fake social workers. I've already talked about this briefly, but I just watched a true crime video. I think Brittany Vaughn or whatever talked about, and it was this lady, she was pregnant, and like a social worker called her and pretended to be somebody that is concerned about homeless single moms and wanting to offer resources to them. And she talked to this person for weeks, and the person was like, hey, if you ever need diapers, if you need wipes, if you need parenting tips, whatever, then call me, I'm here for you. So she thought that was her friend. And her boyfriend was skeptical of this woman. She was like, who is this person? Why are they offering us free stuff out of nowhere? We don't know them. What's going on? But then she was like, yeah, you know, social work is totally real. That is their job, to reach out to people in need. Like, that's totally a thing. Long story short, this woman lied to the people in her life and said she was pregnant. She was not. And she tried to cut out this woman's baby, steal it, present it as her own, and who knows what she was going to do, this woman. Luckily, she was able to catch the attention of a neighbor and get away and press charges against this woman. But, you know, if any, like, people call you and pretend to be social workers, Google them. Ask them for their ID number. Ask them for their official email. It should not be their name at Gmail or AOL or Yahoo. It should be their name .email at an email that is related to some type of social work program, and it should be .gov or something like that. It shouldn't just know. And don't be giving them like personal information or whatever. Yeah. I also just saw this TikTok today where this girl said that someone called her and pretended to be someone that's in a math program for children, and she was asking her a bunch of the person on the other end was asking the TikTok girl a whole bunch of personal questions about her nephew, and she thought it was strange because one, she doesn't have kids, and two, that's her nephew. And she just thought, oh, well, maybe my sister used me as an emergency contact and they couldn't get a hold of her or whatever. But this person kept insisting that they have to interview this kid alone and away from any parents or guardians. Like, not even like in a separate room. Like, they just straight up wanted this girl to drop their nephew off in some place for this person to interview for a math program. And she got really uncomfortable. She ended up hanging up the phone and blocking him. And she called her sister and was like, hey, did you sign up your kid for some math program? And she was like, no, like, he does virtual learning, he's in school, there's tutors available to him, there's no need for him to be in any type of math program. And she has a theory that this is a new tactic for human traffickers, that they are stealing people's numbers or finding them in some database and asking them a whole bunch of questions about kids and asking to interview with them, pretending to be a part of these social programs or pretending to be a part of some type of educational program. And like, maybe they're getting desperate because kids aren't going to school anymore, so they can't just snatch them up off the street. Maybe they're getting desperate because they can't groom kids if they are social workers in the schools or somebody that goes to the schools, so they feel like they need to resort to these tactics. But just be careful about the information that you post online, the information that you post about your kids, and don't be giving strangers information just because they claim to be a part of some type of program or whatever. Ask them their name, their full name, their ID, their email, what website they're affiliated with or whatever, and do your own research. And just, I cannot stress that enough. Fake jobs. I'm not just talking about Craigslist. Everybody knows that Craigslist is sketchy, but occasionally you find some real stuff there. What I'm talking about when I say fake jobs is there will be jobs for things like a receptionist, a cashier, a manager, something that requires a bachelor's degree or whatever, and you can meet them in person, you can meet them in a cafe or whatever, and you think that you're interviewing for a job, and they may not kidnap you there where you are, but if you drive, then like there will be somebody watching you to see what car you're driving and follow you home, or Google that information to figure out where you live at and stuff. There have been jobs where people have shown up to interview and it's like a warehouse, or not exactly an abandoned building, but like a foreclosed on house or something weird like that. Or people will like ask you to come to an interview and you meet in a public place, but then they're like, no, but the real interview is in my car and I have to drive you to the actual site, but I can't tell you the address of the site, and you can't follow me in your car. You have to come and wait in my car because this is secret. And they just have a whole bunch of bullshit excuses and just don't. Yeah. Large vans smashed around cars. So when I was a little girl, my dad always told me, when you get older and you get your own car, do not park in between any large vans. Do not park next to a large van. Go back into the store, tell security, and like have them escort you to your car, or wait for them to leave or something. If you have like a minivan, don't go on the passenger side or the driver's side if you're like smashed on either side. Go through the back, lock the door as soon as you get in, and then go in and drive away and take a few left turns just in case you're being followed. I was always taught that like if you're always walking home the same direction, if you're always driving to a certain place or walking to a certain place, every once in a while change your path. Every once in a while take the long way. If you're always taking shortcuts, especially if it's down like some sketchy path or whatever, occasionally take the long way. Occasionally take a different way. If you're always turning right to go somewhere and you can turn left to go to that same place, do it. And I was always taught, every time you get into the car, lock your doors as soon as you get in. If you're out and about somewhere and somebody stops to go to the gas station, lock your doors as soon as they get out. If you're at your own house or you go to somebody's house, lock your doors as soon as you get in the house. Don't be dilly-dallying at the door. Don't be talking to people in the hallway. Don't be don't be getting undressed in the doorway with your door wide open. Come in the house, close the door, lock the door, and then take your coat off, and then take your shoes off, then put your keys up. Don't be doing all that with the door wide open. And it's the same thing when you get in the car. I was always taught, ladies, when you get in the car, sometimes you want to do your hair. Sometimes you want to take your rollers out and fluff up your hair. Sometimes you want to fix your makeup. No. As soon as you get in your car, lock your doors and drive away. And depending on where you park at, look in the car before getting in, because there have been so many cases where people have been hiding behind somebody's seat and waiting for them to get in the car and kidnap them at gunpoint. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, I talked about this before earlier, but religious abuse, very broad, whatever. A lot of religions are actually cults. A lot of people use valid religions as a cult, and that kind of makes it confusing. And, you know, it's not as covert. It's not as covert as like, oh, I went to church and I got kidnapped. No, it's the manipulation. It's a slow burn. And you think that you're in a place where you're safe. Hi guys, sorry for the change in lighting. I had to move my phone because I got overheated and my other video cut out at the end. But I was basically saying, you know, like, you may not realize you're in danger. You may think you're in a safe place because you're at a Bible study, you're in school, you're in church, or you're with your friends, you're with your family or whatever, when a lot of times those places are breeding grounds for human trafficking places. I'm not saying that all those environments are dangerous, or that if you're religious or you go to church or whatever, you're part of a cult or you're a human trafficker or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that those places can create a fake sense of safety and be a place that is easier for predators to get prey, basically. Another tactic that is used in the human trafficking industry is this thing called lover boy. People will pretend to be dating you, people will pretend to be your boyfriend, and you will think you're in a whole ass relationship. No, it was a lie. And then they bait and switch you, and now you're in a human trafficking ring. Like, so be careful who you date, be careful how they're treating you. If someone is being a little too nice when you really haven't known them that long, then you really just, you have to, you know, question things. Do background checks on people, do criminal checks on people. Make sure that the person you're dating is telling you their real name. Ask them for their ID at some point. Maybe sneak a glance at their ID or something, because half the time y'all dating people and you don't even know their real name. Like, just be careful. There's so many true crime stories that I've seen where somebody just traveled to different states and they were dating multiple women, and this person turned out to be an abuser, this person turned out to be a trafficker, and these women had no idea that they were in danger. They had no idea that these men were married. They had no idea that these men had all these other lives. They had no idea that these people had criminal records. They had no idea the type of danger they were in. So I'm just want to say, like, be careful, be mindful of that. Fake modeling agents. I've talked about fake modeling jobs and scams before, but one of the things I want to touch on is fake modeling agents. I feel like because there were shows in the early 2000s that showed modeling agents going out and about in the city and recruiting 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 13-year-olds into the modeling industry, and people were getting discovered. And their lives changed, and now they're doing all this stuff. Like, there's so many stories in the early 2000s in the media where people were like, I was just working in Dairy Queen and now I'm a model, and ever since I got discovered, I'm traveling the world and I'm making all this money, and I was able to quit my job and all that stuff. And not everybody who comes to you claiming to be a modeling agent for whatever agency actually works for that agency, actually works for an agency or anything. If somebody tells you that, ask them their full name, their email. Do not give them your phone number. Ask them their email. And their email should be something along the lines of their first and last name, or their first name and their initial at whatever the modeling agency that they claim to be with .com, and I know that there are fake email addresses out there, but call the modeling agency. Don't email them. Don't fill out the contact us on their website. Call them and ask, hey, this person is claiming to be a recruiter for your agency. Do you know such and such? Like, that is a simple thing you do. Because I know, like, on Model Mayhem, there was a really popular trend to, like, pretend to be with magazines and ask all this personal information, and they would scam you and send you a fake check and tell you have to send some money back so they sent you extra, and just be careful. Baby factories in Nigeria, for-profit adoption. Okay, so if you never heard about this, it's basically human trafficking in Nigeria, but human trafficking around the world, specifically in Nigeria. Women are being kidnapped, held against their will. They're being forcefully or highly encouraged to get pregnant. And then those babies are being sold all over the world, but mainly to Western countries, mainly to wealthy white families. And those families are being told that their mom is in poverty, or their mom their families can't afford to take care of them, or this baby was abandoned and they pose as orphanages. I can't say that word. They pose as places to rehab kids until they get adopted, but low-key they're creating the problem as to why they would need to get adopted. This is not solely a problem in Nigeria. This is a worldwide thing, but I wanted to mention that because specifically it is a problem within that country. Yes. There's also this thing called indentured servitude. Yes, that is still a thing where wealthy families will tell poor families, if you send us one of your kids to come work for us, we'll send you money. And families that literally cannot afford to feed themselves and their families will send their kids to these wealthy families, expecting some type of wage. Either they don't get paid as much as they said they were. The kids are working all day, like 12 to 16 hour shifts every single day, 7 days a week. They're not allowed to go home and see their families. They're locked in these houses. They're trapped there. Some of these kids, even into their adult lives, are forced to work in these circumstances because they can't afford to leave and they have nowhere to go. So while the family that hired them, their kids are going to school, their kids are playing, their kids are allowed to be children, their whole childhood has been stolen away. This is a huge problem in the Philippines. This is a huge problem in Central America. This is a huge problem throughout the whole continent of Africa. This is a huge problem worldwide. So that's another form of human trafficking that I did want to mention. Also, even in the U.S., unfortunately, some families are selling their kids into human trafficking. And it's not always the type of people that you think. It could be nurses, school teachers, social workers, doctors, lawyers, whatever. Like, people who you think would not be about that life are completely 100% in it, knee deep. But yeah, that's my list of all the tactics that human traffickers use to lure in victims. And, that's, my kind of advice to help make you guys more aware of things. Be more mindful of your surroundings. Be more mindful of what type of things that you share. Be more mindful of just everything. Keep your eyes open. Human traffickers never cease to amaze me with the new ways that they're constantly looking to get victims. I want you guys to be safe. I was going to title this video Human Trafficking in the Modeling Industry, but this is bigger than just the modeling industry. This is something worldwide. This is something that has been affecting us forever. I also feel like the U.S. system of imprisonment is a form of human trafficking. We have the largest population of prisoners in the world, but we still have some of the highest crime rates. And there's a lot of corruption in our system that needs to be overhauled and undone, and I can't believe people are like calling other people, pretending to be social workers, pretending to help them out of their situations, and being capable of such awful things. So yeah, I wanted to say, be careful and keep your eyes open. Pay attention when people talk about human trafficking. Pay attention when they say, hey, I was almost kidnapped. Pay attention. Also, another thing I want to talk about is when you go to travel and you're drinking, you're doing drugs, whatever, you're under the influence, be careful with that. You know, make sure that you're staying close with your friends and family, and that you're not wandering off anywhere, especially in a foreign country or even a foreign state or city. You know, make sure you're aware of things. Also, be aware of random people trying to buy you drinks or offer you drugs or whatever. They're not just trying to be cool people. If you're at an airport and somebody says, hey, I can take you a different way to get to where you need to be, and it's faster and easier than standing in line, and they take you off to some secluded place and try and lure you into a car, that's probably human trafficking, and that person probably does not work there, even if they're wearing a uniform or something similar. Be aware of when you get into Ubers and Lyfts. I've heard of fake Ubers and fake Lyfts. I've never experienced that, but it is a huge thing, especially in Atlanta. Atlanta is a huge human trafficking hub. Anytime anybody mentions like going to Atlanta or saying anything like, hey, I want to go on a trip to Atlanta to visit, or hey, I'm thinking about moving there, there's always people saying, hey, watch out for these people, watch out for these tactics and everything. And I just want you guys to be safe. And it doesn't matter what gender you are, it doesn't matter what age you are, but if you are a woman, if you are a child, or if you have children, you are more vulnerable towards these tactics. And I want you to be safe. I want you to be comfortable. I want you to be healthy. And I want you to keep an eye out on these things just in case somebody you know may be a victim of these as well. Please like, comment, share. If you guys want to add on any other information that you want to share to people, look at survivor stories of human trafficking victims, because they're telling their stories about how they got out, how they got the help they needed, and how they're using their experience to empower other people to help them get out and help prevent this from happening even more. So I do recommend, looking into that a little bit. I know it's dark and people don't want to talk about it, but I just feel like it's so important for us to bring up these issues and for us to just talk about basic safety and being aware, because if you get comfortable, it's easy to forget these things. And I just want you to be safe. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know it's long, but I really wanted to make sure I did this all in one video instead of like 2 or 3 parts, because who the hell keeps up with that? I don't always do videos in order. So yeah, bye.